Dai, you family, and welcome to another episode of Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life truly in your own narrative, because it's only your narrative, family, that can act as a vehicle from this reality to the new earth. You're not going to get there physically. It's not like you cross the ocean and you're in the new earth, or you cross a river and you're in the new earth. The new earth is right here. So you penetrate it, or you exist in it when you get what's in here correct. But those are stories for other days. Special shout out, of course, to our Patreon family. Thank you so much for supporting us on that platform. Definitely consider supporting the channel, family, sponsoring a show, either with a love donation or by joining us on Patreon, where we do release exclusive content daily. And, you know, I've been wanting to share this message for a while, but I guess now is a perfect time. And it's all about how, you know, melanated people around the world, this is like a public announcement, for real, to my African brothers and sisters who we find ourselves on the motherland. We've gone through like a season of exposure, of everything being exposed, where we've now, you know, it's like the veil has been pulled off our eyes. And we've seen the kind of manipulation that has been there over our lives, over our governments, over the continent of Africa, how we're not playing on an equal playing field. We're not playing with the same rules as everybody else. And it's much deeper than money and corruption. There's multiple sides to this Babylon invasion that didn't happen hundreds of thousands of years ago. We'd be surprised. We've been under this invasion. Like, this has been an invasion that has been coming. It did not stop at any time. And it has been to penetrate our minds and try and take them over so that they could rule this world, because we are the custodians of this world. And the way you know we're the custodians is because we don't need to go digging up graves. We don't need to study everything, because we already know everything. It's us, we're that. And so, family, by now, you know, with everything that's been exposed of how our governments, with what happened to Magufuli for me was the final wake-up call, where I realized that it doesn't matter which president or which person you get into the presidency for now, because there are some powerful wizards, powerful ancient ones, powerful ancestors who are going to be coming into those positions when enough of us are in the new earth. Stories for other days. But for now, family, like, the system has been set up against us. Colonialism went straight into a neo-colonial order. And we've been lied to. And for so long, we didn't know. So that's how it was able to keep going. For so long, they made us put the spotlights on ourselves, how we were corrupt, how we're the dark continent, how we're always starving, how there's always all these famines. How is the breadbasket of the world always having drought and famine? Unless there's some kind of weather manipulation. We've seen, family, the information is there, where books and research have shown that countries like France have been involved in, like, is it 20 or 30 or 40 assassinations on the motherland. All the information is there. Confessions of an economic hitman, of how, these foreign governments will come in with an offer. If you refuse the offer, they try and bribe you. If you refuse the bribe, they try and frame you. If you stand up against the framing, they will destabilize your government. If your people still stand behind you, they literally take you out. But a lot of our leaders don't even get to those steps, because they sell out in the beginning by bowing to secret societies. They're approached by secret societies to already join them the minute they see you with any kind of political potential or whatever. And those secret societies is a wizardry order from Babylon, even if it uses our knowledge or whatever. Even if now we have black faces there, it's not our practice. It's empowering them, and these lodges and everything that they have, where they constantly do their, spell work, family. And so we have to recognize that this reality, they've conquered this physical reality. in terms of they're the ones dictating the kind of food we eat. Look at what happened with Kenya. It was so crazy. Please check out my main channel, Dr. Mumbi Show, where I've been focusing more on Kenya, etc., where I talked about how, Billy Gates was here. Then all of a sudden, but first of all, GMO was dropped. Like the ban on GMO was dropped after 10 years as soon as the new president came into power. Then within a month of him being in power, or 2 months, Bill Gates came, refused any local press from, following him or looking at what he was up to. Then all of a sudden, the Cabinet for Secretary for Trade announces that he's going to allow 1 million bags of GMO maize to come into the country untracked or whatever. To come into the country tax-free, etc., etc. Then before it's even passed in Parliament or debated or anything, we're told that a ship has landed. Like within 24 hours of this announcement, it hasn't even been gazetted, because anything that the government announces has to be gazetted in the government newspaper, these Mzungu things, before it becomes like law. It hadn't even been gazetted, family. Next thing, there's a ship docking with maize, millions and millions and millions of bags of maize. No ownership, the ship owner is not known, who brought it in is not known. And maybe these guys are trying to recover their money so that they can pay whoever they have debts to. But family, that already shows you that in terms of this physical thing we call Kenya, we're not in control of that. And so us physically standing up, physically rebelling against that is not going to get us anywhere. It's not going to do anything to help us. We are literally on our own when it comes to that level and this matrix that we still embrace and are a part of. That's why it's about returning to nature and returning to your ancestors, with overrides Kenya. The only thing that overrides Kenya right now is not the Mzungu, it's the ancestors and the spirit of the ancestors. That's the only world that can override this world that we have control over. Because Kenya does not belong to us, because why would we choose to make certain decisions? Like Kenyans were in an uproar because, some ancient trees, some baobab trees, which are actually the shrines for many of the people of the coast, were being shipped to a company in Georgia, and I'll do a whole separate show on that, where they were going to use them for 2 years, and they paid the people who knows how much, $10,000 maybe even that's a lot, maybe $5,000, and they uprooted our trees and they were shipping them to the divided states. How does that even make logical sense to anybody? And how can you think these people have any other chosen ones? How can a lot of Africans think these people are the chosen ones when all they do is come and steal, kill, and destroy? And so we are no longer in control of what we'd call Kenya, or what we'd call Africa, or what we'd call Senegal, or what we'd call... Which means we have to now fight for our nation. Southern Ethiopia, the Agikoyo nation, the Bantus, the Bantu nation, the Bantu world. That's what we're trying to reinstate. Which means we cannot rely, because we're not in control of this world, we cannot rely on it for anything. We've been shown now we can't rely on it to feed us. We can't even rely on it to educate our children, family. There's some friends of mine who their cleaning ladies came crying one day because their children had been forcibly given, their vegan children, if you get it, you get it, were forcibly fed the double Big Mac without their consent, and then they were told not to tell their parents. And yet these people can't even, they have no power against the school. Their children are still going to that school. So you can't trust them with your food. You can't trust them with your water. There's a lot of research that's been done on water and drinking water and all the things that are put in drinking water. That's why you need to do your own research and have your own narrative, because we don't control this world, which means we should be separating ourselves from this world as much as possible and being as independent from this world as much as possible. Otherwise, we'll get entrapped in it. So we have to be providing the basics for ourselves, our water, or at least know where your water is coming from. So here, where I'm living, there's people who have their private boreholes, which is like the highest level water. So a lot of people get that kind of water. A lot of people are growing their own food organically, or at least we have the contact of someone who, someone who's just a farmer, and they do the whole organic thing. They've relocated from the major cities. Some have relocated from the international countries. They've come with all this knowledge. So at least we get our food from there. Don't be a slave in terms of your shelter. Try and build a small, minimalist place. Thank God, like, for the wave of tiny homes, where you can live in luxury in a small space that you can afford to build for yourself. Get yourself a piece of land outside of the city. Build yourself a home. Get all the renewable energies like the solar panels, etc., especially if you're in a hot climate like this. Because we can't trust that the government will have our best interests at heart. They don't. They have to have the interests of Babylon at heart. Because a lot of our president's family, they're being held hostage. They can't tell you, but they're being held hostage. And you see, that's what I saw, because like when they announced that, when the cabinet secretary, who is a very clever person, announced that he was bringing in GMO, he made a very pointed statement, which a lot of people took very personal and got all angry, which shows me they saw it at a lower vibration. He talked about how, there's many things killing Kenyans right now. So even adding GMO to the list of the thing that will kill us won't mean anything. But you see, if you read that, if you interpret that on a higher vibration, what he was telling you is that GMO is bad, and it will mash you up. Like, warning, bang, 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 warning, warning, warning. This thing is not good. That's what he was saying to the people on a higher vibration. But the people on a lower vibration, they're like, how can the government do this? How can the government do that? How can the government want to bring this in, and they know how bad it is? Because these guys all know what's up. But it's like a gun is being held to their heads that the populace can't see. And then they keep the populace so distracted and so ignorant, thinking that we're all playing on this playing field where my vote counts and I get my leader, and my leader will protect what he wants and he'll honor his decisions. No, you vote these people in. Maybe they have the best intentions, but the minute they get through that door, they realize who's really in control. They realize, and it's so funny because the president of Kenya, Ruto, whatever you think of him, he's been telling us what's up. And he's been saying, especially at his church ceremonies, he keeps talking about how Kenya, we're in serious debt. And when you're in debt, you're a slave to those you're in debt to. It's like we've missed the point that we went from being, in debt to China, which is now even, they've refused to remove their interest rates, etc., to being in debt to America so that we could counteract the debt we were in China. And now America has even come in and said, yo, if you're not giving us our money, then either allow GMO, allow LGBTQ, take the jibby jab. One of these, you can't say no to everything. 5G is already there. And he's told us, if you're in debt, you're a slave. So if you're in Kenya, you're a slave. If you're trying to establish the Bantu nation and you're no longer associating yourself with this, that's the only way you're free. And you see, it's a thing you need to know on the inside, because we need to take back control of Kenya. But we're not going to take it by following the rules, because they don't follow the rules. Because they won't tell you that they're running Kenya from a spiritual and a spell binding situation, that they're running Kenya from covens abroad that have their outposts here. And they have their henchmen that practice those things, that maintain those powers. They won't tell you that a lot of this is magic. So they're not, already you don't even know the playing field. You're playing on a playing field that doesn't even exist for your enemy. And you won't see it until you step aside. And that's why, family, I keep saying, come back to yourself spiritually. You're not going to survive unless you're connected to the ancestors. And if you think the ancestors are dead people how can you talk to the dead? Then you're already lost. Goodbye. So long. You'll have to be recycled back, because you're insane, actually. Speaking like that is a sign of a mental illness, family. Like, not even being funny. Like, on a very, very, very serious note. And so we're not going to change it by they'll continue to oppress Kenya, but they can't continue to oppress the Bantu nation. I'm just creating this divide. Like, the only way we win is through being independent ourselves. Because don't think that a lot of these presidents didn't start in some way wanting to be free, or aren't in their presidencies wanting to be free. Who wants to be taking orders? You'd rather be taking orders from yourself and your clan and your small clique of people. But you're all in fear that something's going to happen. It's like Tanzania. The minute Magufuli left, all his things were reversed. You think she wasn't afraid? I know she's WEF. But you think Sululu wasn't afraid that maybe she could also be taken out, and her security wasn't strong enough to protect her from the hidden hand that, quote unquote, rules the world? I don't want to be in that world. I want to be in reality. And that is not reality. That's an illusion. That they're now having to fight so much to maintain and upkeep. And so the reason I'm even sharing this, family, is to say that let all the exposure that's happening now move you into action. Because now it's like I see some people are stuck in a time loop where it's like, oh my God, they're doing this. Oh, Ghana's president said we're going to get our cocoa back. Okay, you're happy about that. But it's just like you're stuck in a time loop where you're not able to take action. The action you're taking is just verbal garbage. It's verbal diarrhea. You need to first take action in your own life to hear, okay, these things are being done in my country. They're probably already there. So let me become independent. Let me secure myself, my family. Then I can even now talk amongst my community, spread the knowledge, and we secure our community. Because if we secure our community energetically and spiritually, the things that can't penetrate. Because the spiritual overrides the physical, the whatever government, whatever neo-colonial order, whatever new world order. It's only the ancestral realm that overrides Babylon. And then from there, now let's talk about when where our community is secure. Then now I can have the luxury of saying, okay, the politics is bad. How are we going to get our own people, but also spiritually protect these people because it's a warfare? How are we going to buy back, support Black, and make sure that the African organizations or the melanated organizations we're supporting actually honor our people, are for our people, by our people, and they're not proxies? Then we can have the luxury of that information. But for now, whenever you hear either a good or bad story about the motherland, it's not about getting excited. It's like, continue to take action. It's a warning. These are the warning. These are the trumpets exposing the truth. So when you're told Africa is not in control of its minerals, when you're told over 50% of African countries have foreign militaries in them, countries like Kenya have 3,000 British soldiers passing through here, or here basically. That's an occupation. So when you know that, you can't trust the government. They're the ones running the government. So you act accordingly. But us trying to take this government head on is just not going to work, family. To take these governments. We have to secure ourselves spiritually first, but I think that's a signal to stop. Thank you so much to every single person that supports us on Patreon. Definitely consider sponsoring the show so we can continue to bring you this very pertinent information, family, because it's all about your perspective. It's all about your narrative. Tuko pamoja.